Good afternoon, everyone, and very warm welcome to all of you on the platform of the Civil Guru. My name is Akhilesh, and we are meeting here. Yes, shutter बंद हो गया है इसका कैमरे का. Excuse me. Hi, everyone. Because of some technological interruption, uh, there was a little bit discontinuity. So yesterday we were discussing about the abiotic factor of environment, and in the process we were discussing about atmosphere, and we have seen the zonation in atmosphere, and we talked about troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, and thermosphere. Well, in the process of discussion, we discussed that the troposphere is going to be the weather sphere, all the weather phenomena taking place in this sphere, and most of the gases are confined to troposphere because of the gravity. I also said to you there is a normal lapse rate. The temperature decrease with increasing height. After every 1 kilometer, there is 6.5 degrees centigrade drop in temperature. And I said to you, what is the reason behind this normal lapse rate? So yesterday I said to you, please find out what is the reason. Today I am going to explain the reason why there is normal lapse rate. Normal lapse rate. Okay. So this heating effect, heating of atmosphere, is because of absorption of long wave terrestrial radiation. Long wave terrestrial radiation get absorbed by carbon dioxide and water vapor. These two gases are important to absorb the long wave terrestrial radiation, water vapor, and both are termed as greenhouse gas and creating the heating effect on the earth. Otherwise, earth is no more the habitable place if these greenhouse gases are not there. Okay, what is long wave terrestrial radiation? Let me explain this. The earth's surface receiving insolation. Insolation contains so many, you can say, radiation will take up it in spectrum of light, and after absorption of this insolation, there is radiation from the surface, and these surface radiation happen to be called as long wave terrestrial radiation. They are called as long wave terrestrial radiation. Long wave terrestrial radiations are absorbed by water vapor and carbon dioxide. As you go up, the concentration of carbon dioxide and water vapor is going to be reduced, because most of the gas are confined to the lower troposphere. So as you go up, the gases like carbon dioxide and water vapor also get reduced. So the absorption of long wave terrestrial radiation happen to be more near the Earth's surface. So as you go up, there is decrease in the availability of carbon dioxide as well as water vapor, and hence absorption of long wave terrestrial radiation is not as enormous as it is close to the Earth's surface. That's why if you go up, you will get lower temperature. Our temperature is decreasing with normal lapse rate. This is one of the explanation. Another explanation is that once you go up, you will find a rarer air and air expand. Due to expansion of air, there will be cooling effect, and this cooling effect attributed to lower temperature. So both the factor work once you go up. One is cooling effect because of expansion of air. Another one is absorption of long wave terrestrial radiation is going to be reduced gradually as you go up, because most of the carbon dioxide as well as water vapor confined to the lower troposphere. That's why there is a net normal lapse rate happen to be there 6.5 degrees centigrade decrease in temperature once you go 1 kilometer above in atmosphere. Okay, so this is the story of troposphere. Now you are reaching in stratosphere, and this stratosphere is known for increase in temperature. Increase in temperature. As you go in stratosphere, especially lower stratosphere, there will be net increase in temperature. And this net increase in temperature is attributed to presence of ozone in this stratosphere. So there is ozone, elemental form of oxygen present over there. In a stratosphere, ozone is present. Ozone. And this ozone has been given the work that please absorb ultraviolet B radiation. Please absorb ultraviolet B radiation. That means UV B radiation get absorbed by ozone layer. Although this ozone layer is a misnomer, the ozone is not present in form of layer. How the concept of layer came over there, I will discuss. Okay. So the stratosphere containing ozone, its elemental form of oxygen, it is continuously formed in a stratosphere, and this ozone is responsible for absorption of ultraviolet radiation, that is high energy radiation. High energy radiation. And this high energy radiation absorption increase the temperature in stratosphere. Increase the temperature in stratosphere. If this ultraviolet radiation is allowed to come on the Earth's surface, it can create havoc. It will destroy the living organism. Lot of impacts are there on living organism. Once we will discuss the ozone depletion, in that chapter, you will find that ultraviolet rays are very much lethal to biological system. That's why nature have created the provision of ozone layer or provision of ozone in a stratosphere that will absorb ultraviolet B radiation. That means there is some AC also. Answer is yes. Ultraviolet B radiation, and that's why the ozonosphere, or you can say lower stratosphere, is increasing temperature, is seen as increasing temperature in this region. Then next sphere which we talked about was mesosphere. Up to 80 kilometer and beyond 80 kilometer, you are going to have thermosphere. And I said to you, this mesosphere is a coldest sphere of atmosphere. That is meso. Okay, mesosphere is the coldest sphere of atmosphere. So no such kind of absorption is there in mesosphere, and there is no concentration, I mean rare concentration of gas over there. So there is no what you can say heat absorption. That's why it is going to be the coldest sphere. But as you reach in thermosphere region, you will find that temperature happen to be of the degree 15 degrees centigrade to 2000 degrees centigrade. That means enormously higher temperature in thermosphere. Again, I ask to you that what is the reason of this much higher temperature in thermosphere? There are two reasons. One is that this thermosphere gases, largely it is oxygen and nitrogen. although this is in the rarest of rare condition availability of oxygen and nitrogen over there, but this oxygen and nitrogen is responsible for absorption of very high energy radiation. Very high energy radiation does mean the sun's rays contains gamma rays, also containing X rays, ultraviolet rays. Then we have visible light. Then we have infrared, far infrared. Then we have radio waves, or that is also called as microwaves. Now, this is the spectrum of light. So sun's rays are having these rays, and as you see, the gamma rays, X-rays and ultraviolet rays, they correspond to high energy radiation. High energy radiation. Just imagine the impact this gamma rays and X-rays can create. You know, there is chemotherapy and radiotherapy. That is the, especially this radiotherapy is the treatment process of cancer. And in radiotherapy, what is done? Using this gamma rays and X-rays, the cancerous cell is going to be burnt alive. Burnt alive. Which cell? The cancerous cell. That means these gamma rays or X-rays are having so much of energy that they can kill the biological system. So the sun's rays, every quanta of the sun's rays containing these gamma rays, X-rays and ultraviolet rays. And the nature has to make the earth habitable. That means the survival of the biological system should be ensured. समझ में आ रहा है ना ये बात? तो नेचर को कुछ जुगाड़ बनाना था. The nature has to create some kind of management, some kind of arrangement. And this arrangement is what? The thermosphere. This arrangement is thermosphere. So thermosphere has been given the responsibility. Please absorb gamma rays as well as X-rays. So these gamma rays as well as X-rays are absorbed in thermosphere. Absorb gamma rays and X-rays. So once this gamma rays and X-rays get absorbed in thermosphere, so it is not reaching on the Earth's surface. Ultraviolet rays left over. So there is another provision in a stratosphere. Okay, ultraviolet, you are going to be get absorbed in a stratosphere because ozone is waiting for you. Are you getting my point? So this kind of arrangement our atmosphere is having. Then Mother Nature have given this kind of arrangement to save us. Otherwise, these high energy radiation cannot allow to any living system to grow, to develop. Every living system will perish on this earth if these high energy radiation happen to be there on Earth's surface. That's why this thermosphere, after absorbing this, what you can say, gamma rays as well as X-rays, it get heated up. Lot of energy is absorbed every time. So this thermosphere is at very high temperature. The high temperature of the range 1500 degrees centigrade. And remember, at this very high temperature, no substance can remain in their original form. No substance can remain in their atomic form. At very high temperature, the substance is in its plasma form, or you can say in its ionic form. That's why the thermosphere gases get ionized, and due to the ion present in thermosphere, the sphere is also called as ionosphere. Due to the ion present in thermosphere, the sphere is also called as ionosphere. Are you getting my point? Okay. So presence of ionosphere, presence of thermosphere. Why this is ionosphere? Because there is absorption of high energy radiation like gamma as well as X-ray, gamma rays and X-rays. It can destroy the entire cell. It can burn the entire cell. Okay. So it should not be allowed on Earth's surface. Even X-ray, this ultraviolet rays are also high energy radiation. It should not be allowed. But it is redeemed by this ionosphere. Okay, go ahead. Further, you will be taken care of by our younger brother, which is living in the stratosphere, that is ozone. So it is again what you can say blocked. Blocked by which layer? That is atmosphere. So is atmosphere is a protection cover? Answer is yes. Especially the thermosphere and stratosphere. It is protecting us not from cosmic rays but also from solar flare. Okay, so solar flare, it was asked in this year's prelims. Solar flare also containing these rays because they are the intense, what you can say, the formation of solar flare happened to be there because of huge coronal mass ejection. Okay, so this high energy radiation get absorbed. That's why this atmosphere is continuously saving us. Okay, so this is going to be the abiotic system or abiotic component of our environment, which is responsible for the protection of the biological system as well as sustaining the biological system. We were talking about the gases also. In the process of these gases, we discussed about nitrogen. That nitrogen is the most important gas which is required for the growth and development of living organism. Without nitrogen, there will be no life. And what about oxygen? Oxygen is also required for respiration, isn't it? As well as combustion. So for respiration and combustion, you require oxygen. Then there is carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide used by plants in photosynthesis. And this carbon dioxide is also a global warming gas. Global warming gas. So if this global warming gas would not be there, our Earth is not going to be habitable place because of presence of these global warming gas, except the polluting gas. I'm not talking about the polluting gas because global warming is not a negative term. It became negative because of the anthropogenic activity. While this global warming is utmost required phenomena, because without global warming, Earth is not going to be habitable. Global warming, better to call it greenhouse effect. Okay, not writing global warming is wrong. You can write greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect. So this greenhouse effect is a blanket effect, is a warming effect created by carbon dioxide as well as water vapor. So if this greenhouse effect would not be there, the average temperature of Earth would be minus 20 degrees centigrade. Just imagine minus 20 degrees centigrade. At 0 degrees centigrade, water get freezed. So if these greenhouse gases are not present in Earth atmosphere, so the Earth is not going to be a habitable place. That's why greenhouse effect is very necessary. And because of the presence of these greenhouse gas, the average temperature of Earth is going to be 15 degrees centigrade. And this 15 degrees centigrade temperature of Earth making Earth a blue planet full of so much of biodiversity. If it would be minus 20, so you can imagine the kind of harsh condition prevailing over there, isn't it? So this carbon dioxide is not only the agent to fix the solar energy in form of chemical energy, but also it is required for the global warming. It is required for the greenhouse effect or warming of the Earth effect, and which is very necessary to live over here. This is carbon dioxide. And then there is water vapor. This water, which is approximately 71% on the Earth's surface. And after evaporation, it changes its phase. And the phase is what? Gaseous phase. And in gaseous phase, this water remains from 1% to 4% of entire gaseous volume. That means the water vapor percent varies in atmosphere. If the temperature is high temperature, then there will be more evaporation. High temperature, then there will be more evaporation. If there will be low temperature, there will be less evaporation. Low temperature, there will be less evaporation. What do you understand by these two bullets? High temperature, more evaporation, low temperature, less evaporation. Is evaporation possible at 0 degrees centigrade? My question is 0 degrees centigrade, yeah, -5 degrees centigrade is evaporation possible? What should be your answer? What is your take? Just use your mind. Is it possible to have evaporation even at minus temperature? Answer is absolutely yes. Evaporation, don't consider this boiling point. Don't put the science over here. The science is right, your understanding is wrong. Okay, so this evaporation is a surface phenomena and it is taking place at all temperature. What I said to you, evaporation is a surface phenomena. So here it is the water filled in a jar, and the water molecule which is present on the surface of the water is leaving water at every temperature. That is called as evaporation. But the thing is, if temperature is high, a rate of evaporation will be higher. If temperature is low, a rate of evaporation is low. Okay. So if temperature is high, so there will be more evaporation. Hence, the percentage of water vapor is close to 4. And once the temperature is low, the percentage is going to be 1. It is not 9, it is 1. So if I ask to you where you are likely to get more water vapor in atmosphere, you will simply answer that, sir, where the temperature is going to be higher. So temperature is going to be higher in the tropics, especially at equator, you are going to have 4% water vapor. And once you go towards pole, this percentage is going to be diminished up to 1%. So if higher moisture content is near equator, certainly equator will get more rainfall. Is it right or wrong? It is right. You have seen in your geography. Okay, so more rainfall near equator because of high moisture content, because of evaporation. Again, you might have a question that, sir, tropics pe to highest temperature hota hai. So temperature adhik ho ke kya karega when there is no water body? Are you getting my point? So water body is required for source is required, na? So at Tropic of Cancer, western margin of the continent, there is less water body over there. So you are not going to have evaporation. So this evaporation bringing water vapor in atmosphere, and this water vapor performs two work. What are that work? This water vapor performs two work. One is water cycle. We'll discuss in detail. And another one is greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect. That means absorption of long long wave terrestrial radiation, absorption of long wave terrestrial radiation by water vapor. Can you give me the idea of a cloudy night? Is that cloudy night is going to be warm or cool compared to the normal night of that very season? Answer is the cloudy night or the cloudiness, increased cloudiness. That means more water vapor in atmosphere will absorb more long wave terrestrial radiation. So there will be more heating effect. So cloudy nights happen to be warmer than the open sky nights. What is the reason behind it? The absorption of long wave terrestrial radiation by water vapor. So water vapor is not contributing this water cycle or redistribution of heat on Earth's surface, but also performing this greenhouse effect. One thing more, this greenhouse effect, if there is increased carbon dioxide concentration, so this greenhouse effect is becoming global warming and it is a menace. But once we talk about global warming gases, water vapor is not taken as a global warming polluting gas, because the what you can say, the amount of water vapor in atmosphere is not decided by us. Thank God. It is not decided by us. It is decided by nature itself. Indeed, if global warming will be there, high temperature will be there, more water vapor will be there in atmosphere, and that will cause huge amount of rainfall. But this increasing concentration of global warming gases is in the hands of human being. But increasing concentration of water vapor is actually naturally decided. That's why it's a natural aspect, and hence it is not taken as a polluting gas. It is the process which is continuously going on in form of water cycle. Water cycle is very much necessary for the redistribution of heat generated or get in a particular region, that is tropics, and it is going to be disseminated up to the polar area. Okay, so this water cycle is very much important to sustain the ecosystem on the Earth's surface. Apart from it, we are also having this ozone in stratosphere, and this ozone is also present in troposphere in some unprecedented condition. When we talk about the pollution, you will get photochemical smog. Photochemical smog. And in photochemical smog, you will find this ozone formation taking place inside the troposphere, which is going to be called as bad ozone. So troposphere ozone is going to be called as bad ozone because of certain bad impact. While the stratospheric ozone is called as good ozone. Good ozone. Stratospheric ozone is called as good ozone. Why? Because it is going to absorb ultraviolet B light and saving the entire Earth's surface from the disaster. That's why it is good ozone. And tropospheric ozone is bad ozone because it has some repercussions and negative effect on the biological system, and so many negative effects are there. We'll discuss it in detail in pollution class. Well, this is stratospheric ozone. Let me explain one misnomer that always happened with you, that there is ozone layer, and this ozone layer is diminished by certain ozone depleting agents, and there is ozone hole. So what is the meaning of ozone layer? What is the meaning of ozone hole? How this ozone gas is arranged in a stratosphere is this ozone hole is devoid of ozone. There is no ozone present at all. All these going to be discussed in coming few minutes. Let me explain that ozone hole kind of concept is erroneous. The ozone is not present in not ozone hole. The ozone layer concept is a erroneous concept. No? Ozone layer. It is not right to say ozone layer because the ozone which is present in the stratosphere is not in form of layer at all. Just like here in the class or in your room from where you are watching me, can you see oxygen and nitrogen? Are they visible? Can you find a zone that is having oxygen only and there is nitrogen, and you put your nose over there and get the oxygen, not the nitrogen? So what exactly you are having in air? So inside the air, you are going to have mixture of gas that include nitrogen, oxygen, and all gases. And we cannot differentiate in form of layer or stratification of these gases. These gases are present in a homogeneous mixture. Okay, and similar thing occurs in stratosphere also. In a stratosphere, the entire ozone is scattered in this stratospheric zone, and it is there in form of concentration, just like the nitrogen and oxygen in your room. That means there is no such layer concept over there. But saying it as a layer is going to be wrong. Answer is no. Because when this ozone was estimated, how much ozone is present in atmosphere, then a hypothetical condition was given that once we compress all the ozone of stratosphere, it is going to create a layer of approximately 3 millimeter. Okay, so it is a hypothetical condition in which you are compressing all the ozone of stratosphere at one place, then it is going to give you a layer that is having the thickness of 3 millimeter. Again, this 3 millimeter thickness is not the direct estimation of ozone. You estimate the concentration of ozone in Dobson unit. Do remember Dobson unit. And Mr. Dobson was actually the scientist who have estimated the stratospheric ozone for the first time. And by using Heher technology, Heher technology, technique, Heher technique, Dobson, Gordon Dobson estimated ozone by using spectrometry. Spectrometry is an instrument. Okay, we are not going in the details of the technique, otherwise this is not going to be a GS class. Indeed, you should know the name Gordon Dobson, Heher technique, and spectrometry was the methodology which is used. Well, after estimation of the ozone, it was found that there is 300 Dobson unit, 300 Dobson unit ozone present in stratosphere. 300 Dobson unit ozone present in stratosphere. So because it was measured by Dobson, so Dobson thought कि मेरी कोई मूर्ति तो बनवाएगा नहीं, so I should make my name immortal, and he has given the Dobson unit. 300 Dobson unit on an average. This is the concentration of ozone which is present in a stratosphere. Well, this one Dobson unit represent the amount of ozone. One Dobson unit represent the amount of ozone, or you can say molecules of ozone amount of ozone to construct ध्यान दीजिएगा 0.01 millimeter thick ozone layer. What I said to you, कि 1 Dobson unit represent that amount of ozone, that concentration of ozone that can be used to construct a layer of 0.01 millimeter thickness. That means 0.01 millimeter thick layer, if you want to create, you require 1 Dobson unit of ozone. That means 300 Dobson unit of ozone will construct how much thicker ozone layer? You can put this 300 and there is simple mathematical calculation, and that comes to be 3 millimeter. 3 millimeter. That means there is 3 millimeter thick ozone layer that correspond to the amount of ozone which is present in the stratosphere is such that a 3 millimeter thick ozone layer can be constructed. It is going to be 300 Dobson unit. From here, the ozone layer concept is coming. Okay, otherwise it is the concentration. Are you getting my point? Well, this 300 Dobson unit is the 300 Dobson unit is a average thickness of ozone. Average thickness of ozone, 300 Dobson unit. Average thickness of ozone. That means there is thicker ozone, R may be thinner ozone, but the average is going to be 300 Dobson unit. Well, what we did, we read actually a poem, and the poem was in Hindi. It was like that कि कौन कहता है कि आसमान में सुराख नहीं होता, एक पत्थर तो तबीयत से उछालो यार. English version, who said that there is no hole in the sky? Hole cannot be created in the sky. If you throw the stone with escape velocity, it is going to create the hole. Okay, so this poem was written by Dushyant Kumar, and we have taken it in serious mode, and we started throwing a stone in form of chlorofluorocarbon, hydrochromocarbon, nitrogen oxide after industrialization, and using this air condition, freezing, and all that, fumigating agent, this phosphorus, the paint, means all these are going to produce ozone depleting agents. So we are throwing all these ozone depleting agent in atmosphere, releasing every time. It is going up and causing what? Destruction of ozone. Okay, so Mother Nature have said, okay, you are going to destroy ozone. Come on, it is 300 Dobson unit. You can destroy a little bit. Suppose that it is going to be 200 Dobson unit. Even then, this ozone layer is able to protect us from ultraviolet rays. Again, we are not stopping over here. This has been reduced up to 100 Dobson unit. DU, okay, not decibel, Dobson unit, 100 Dobson unit. At this level, nature have said, okay, now it's enough. If you are going beyond this, means below this, certainly ultraviolet rays will strike to you. And as the concentration of ozone in the stratosphere less than 100 Dobson unit, the ultraviolet rays become very happy because they can pass through it. And once these ultraviolet rays are passing through the area which is having concentration less than 100 Dobson unit, those area in the stratosphere is called as ozone hole. Ozone hole. And this ozone hole is the area from where ultraviolet rays are coming continuously and striking on the Earth's surface and creating huge impact. And the impacts are going to be discussed in your ozone depleting class. This ozone depletion and the climate change. It will be taken further. These are some concepts I'm telling you. Okay, that means if UPSC is asking one question to you, ki ozone hole is the area where no ozone is present. Is this a statement correct? Answer is no. There is presence of ozone even in ozone hole, but the concentration of ozone is less than 100 Dobson unit, and that concentration is not sufficient enough to stop the ultraviolet radiation. So UPSC used to ask very basic question, and once you have the basic understanding of the concept, certainly you will going to crack all these questions. If not, and you have just learned that ozone hole, and the ozone hole is having a whole absence of ozone, so you are going in trap. Are you getting my point? So what is the ozone hole? It is the concentration of ozone that is less than 100 Dobson unit. That area is represented as ozone hole. Well, I have another question for you. Most of the time you heard about this ozone hole happen to be in polar area. Agreed? I hope so. At least this much you know. Ozone hole have taken place in the polar region, while the stone were pelted in tropical as well as temperate region. That means the industrialization, or whatever you can say, this use of air condition, freezing agent, etc., have taken place in what you can say North America, Western Europe, Asia, South America, but the whole is going to be there in Antarctic, there in Arctic region. Why not the ozone hole is taking place in equatorial or tropics or temperate region? Why the ozone hole is taking place in polar region? I'm giving this question to you to think about, because most of the industrialization is taking place in tropical and temperate region. Even then, the ozone hole is happening in polar region. What is the reason behind it? Find it out. This is homework for you, and I will explain it in ozone depletion when we discuss this entirety. Okay, so do remember why this ozone hole confined to the polar region. Recently, 1 or 2 years back, you also heard this news that ozone hole is replenished in Arctic region. Some ozone hole was there and it was replenished, and some learned newspaper, very learned newspaper, have written this news in a very large section that it is because of the lockdown effect of corona. I'm not going to tell the name, but indeed there are newspaper, they have reported this news like that, and they never regret for such news. And this is bad, and I feel really bad for their what you can say understanding. At least if you are writing some wrong news, so you need to be apologetic, because you are disseminating wrong concept. So it was written that it is attributed to the what you can say lockdown effect. There is no vehicle discharge and all that, and hence this global ozone hole get replenished, and it was totally absurd explanation. Okay, I will discuss. First, you should know why the ozone hole over there. Then I will discuss how it is going to be replenished. But keep patience till that very class. I will discuss that also. And it was wrong news reported in many newspaper. Well, we were discussing about the abiotic factors. In that, we are talking about the atmosphere and atmospheric gases. Approximately all the gases important for your environment and ecology, is covered now. Next is going to be abiotic factor, that is light. Okay. And this light, again, this electromagnetic radiation. If I put this light in form of a spectrum, and this part is going to be important, it is going to help you in geography, environment and ecology, in science and technology. Okay, so lot of concepts are associated with the spectrum of light, so you need to be very careful. So this light contains so many electromagnetic radiation. Electromagnetic radiation. Okay, so light is a aggregates of electromagnetic radiation, and there are short wavelength electromagnetic radiation and long wavelength electromagnetic radiation. The short wavelength electromagnetic radiation happen to be of higher energy. I'm not going in the details of what you can say physics. Otherwise, you must have this idea: E is equal to hc by lambda. This is the equation. Those who are from science background knows it better. So there is equation that is having energy and wavelength relationship. You know this. And for those who are from non-science background, just understand, if the wavelength is low, it is of high energy. If the wavelength is more, it is of low energy. That's it. If this much concept is clear, so this spectrum is going to be useful for you. Well, the first group of radiation is called as gamma rays. Gamma rays. They are having very low wavelength. Okay, wavelength of 0.1 nanometer. The order of 0.1 nanometer. Then there is group of means electromagnetic radiation. They are called as X-rays. X-rays up to 100 nanometer. You are going to have X-rays. Means less than 100 nanometer, you are going to have X-rays and gamma rays. And mind my word, these X-rays and gamma rays are going to be very high energy radiation. Very high energy radiation. And the provision is done in thermosphere. Otherwise, if they reach on Earth's surface, you know, radiotherapy, the cancerous cell is going to be destroyed. We all become roasted chicken, isn't it? That's why it has been kept over there, absorbed by thermosphere, absorbed by nitrogen and oxygen over there. Okay, very lethal. Then there is a group of ultraviolet radiation. Ultraviolet radiation. And this radiation is having three siblings. तीन भाई बहन हैं ये. Ultraviolet A, ultraviolet B, and ultraviolet C. So three siblings are there: ultraviolet A, B, and C. Let me explain this. UV A, UVB, and UVC. Three ultraviolet rays are there. Okay, up to 400 nanometer. So from 100 nanometer to 400 nanometer, this is the spectrum which is actually the spectrum of ultraviolet radiation. And from 400 to 700 nanometer, you will find visible light over here. Visible light. Okay, this visible light, which is called as light, actually, it is visible to us, or you can say things are visible because of this visible light. And this light is also important for photosynthesis. That means this visible light has two work on this earth surface. One, make everything clear to you, मतलब देखने में सहायक है. And the second thing, the photosynthetic active radiation. That means the plants absorb these light and perform photosynthesis. That is called as PAR, photosynthetically active radiation. And beyond this 400 to 0.1 nanometer, it is not photosynthetic active radiation. And beyond 700 nanometer, the infrared, far infrared radio waves are also not going to participate in photosynthesis. So only the visible light is going to be part of photosynthesis. Let me explain these two, UVA and UVB, in detail. Okay, on next figure, try to see ultraviolet radiation from 100 nanometer to 280 nanometer, and from 280 nanometer to 320 nanometer, and from 320 nanometer to 380 nanometer. This is the three zone. You will find ultraviolet UVC between 100 to 280 nanometer, UVB between 280 to 320 nanometer, and UVA between 320 to 380 nanometer. Well, this UVC, what is your take? Is it high energy radiation or low energy radiation as compared to UVB? Obviously, it has lower wavelength, so it is going to be high energy radiation. Mind my words, this UVC is also absorbed in thermosphere by nitrogen and oxygen. Okay, the nature is not giving this chance to ultraviolet C radiation to reach to the surface. Otherwise, it can also create havoc, because it is just the brother of X-ray. It is very close to X-ray energy, isn't it? So this UVC is absorbed by thermosphere. See the beauty of the nature, na? How Mother Nature have given you the ecosystem to live. The goddess nature is knowing that my child is not going to bear this ultraviolet C, X-rays and gamma rays. So there must be some provision. Okay. So this is absorbed in where? Thermosphere. Well, this ultraviolet B can cross this thermosphere and reaching to the stratosphere, and in the stratosphere, ozone is standing like this. So this ultraviolet B is absorbed by ozone layer. You understand this? Well, then there is ultraviolet A. So if you ask this ultraviolet A, कैसे हो, तो ये बताएगा यार नाम के हम ultraviolet A हैं. Otherwise, if you compare the energy, I'm just approximately equal to the energy level of violet light. Which violet? याद करो वो जमाना जब आपने स्पेक्ट्रम को रटा था. V, I, B, G, Y, O, R. What is it? Visible light. इसने कहा कि हमें UVA, भाई हम तो वॉयलेट के आसपास ही हैं, नाम क्या है? तो UVA is not affecting the biological system in that way, just like UVB and UVC. Are you getting my point? Okay. Then there is visible light spectrum: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red, and it is going to be called as photosynthetically active radiation. Photosynthetically active radiation. Are you getting my point? So this is photosynthetically active radiation, which is visible light. Before that, ultraviolet. Before that, X-ray, gamma rays. X-ray, gamma rays, ultraviolet C get absorbed in thermosphere. Okay, and this B is absorbed in stratosphere, and rest are left on the Earth's surface. And this Earth's surface is going to use these visible light by the plants. The plant will perform, carbon dioxide get fixed in which chemical, and there is flow of energy and flow of material taking place. Okay, so what is the story? Away from this visible light, we are going to have infrared, then you are going to have microwave, then you are going to have radio wave, short radio wave and long radio wave, and this is how the spectrum of light is there. spectrum of light. And this light is very much important for what you can say flow of energy, because it is the energy which is going to be fixed. Well, this light availability on Earth's surface is going to decide the kind of ecosystem stability. If I say the area which is devoid of light is having less biodiversity, if light is not there, it has less biodiversity, will you appreciate? I hope you understand this. If light is not there, so how come the producer will be there? And if producer will not there, so how come the other organism, those are surviving over the producer's existence, will be there? That means the light, if absent, is going to be the area where you have least biodiversity. Are you getting my point? Let me explain this through aquatic ecosystem. Okay. So next, with related with light, next is going to be the light in aquatic ecosystem. Let me draw this aquatic ecosystem for you. Well, this is water. This is the beauty of this subject, that I can draw whatever the nature can create, not as beautifully as the nature have created, but indeed I feel a lot of pleasure. And you should also make all these figure. Otherwise, after completion of the course of 6 months, you will say, "Kya padhaya hai?" And if you make the figure, then you will say, "Kya padhaya hai?" So, दोनों क्या पढ़ाने में अंतर है, sir. Please make these figure happen on your notebook. Okay, this is a typical what you can say water body. There is low depth, and as you go towards higher sea, the depth is going to be enormous. It is increasing. Okay. Here you are going to have land, and this is something which is called as a littoral zone. It is called as littoral zone, and the open water is called as limnetic zone. Limnetic zone. Okay, littoral zone is characterized by the shallow water region. What I said, littoral zone is characterized by shallow water region where you will find rooted hydrophytes. Hydrophytes means the plants, they are loving the water very much that they get aggregated where the water is there. Okay, so rooted hydrophytes, you will find rooted hydrophytes, plants that are rooted hydrophytes, because there is a shallow water zone, so you will get rooted hydrophytes over here. While once you reach in higher sea and the depth is increased, there is no rooted hydrophytes, क्योंकि किसी प्लांट की औकात ही नहीं कि इतनी बड़ा रूट बना ले और स्टेम बना ले. Are you getting? And so there is free floating hydrophytes. I'm talking about hydrophytes first because they are the producers. Free floating hydrophytes, and these free floating hydrophytes are called as phytoplanktons. They are called as phytoplanktons. They are called as phytoplanktons. Phytoplanktons. Okay. Free floating hydrophytes are phytoplanktons. Free floating hydrophytes are confined to limnetic zone. Why they are free floating? Because there is depth that is huge, and this much depth cannot be reached by the root, stem, and leaves. You understand? Well, there is a zone up to which the light can penetrate. So there is horizontal distribution. This is what? Horizontal zonation. horizontal. But there is vertical zonation also. So the region up to which the light can penetrate is called as photic zone. This is called as photic zone. Photic zone. Photic zone, that means the area up to which light can penetrate. Indeed, the upper area represent higher light intensity. As you go down, there will be lower light intensity. Are you getting my point? That means slowly and gradually, once you are reaching inside, you will get less light, and ultimately this light is going to be diffused and lost. And there is no light zone also, and this no light zone is called as aphotic zone. Aphotic zone, where no light is there. So is there any phytoplankton present in aphotic zone? Answer is no. Why? Because living phytoplankton I'm talking about. मरने के बाद तो कहीं भी भेज दो. So there is no phytoplankton in aphotic zone, because to live they require light for photosynthesis. Are you getting my point? So limnetic zone is having phytoplankton. Photic zone is the area up to which there is a light, and then there is a zone which is devoid of light, which is called as aphotic zone. And the bottom of this ecosystem is called as benthic zone. Benthic zone. Benthic zone. Well, you will find phytoplanktons, and there are small animal, they are called as zooplanktons. Zooplanktons. So phytoplanktons and zooplanktons are free floating animal as well as plant. They are not able to float, they are not able to swim against the stream. These are the animal as well as plant. They are not able to swim against the stream. But there are animal, especially animal, they can swim against the stream. They are called as nectons. So you will get nectons over here. Nectons. These are the term associated with ecosystem. That's why I make you clear. So nectons are those animal, they have the capability to swim even against the streams, like fishes, like so many animal can be there. It may be crocodile, it may be anything. So they are called as nectons. For example, fish, whale, shark, stinging fish. So many examples are there. They can float against the concentration gradient. They can float against the stream. Okay, this is nectons, and those organisms usually living at the basis, at the bottom, in benthic region. They are called as benthos. They are called as benthos. For example, snail, sludge, isn't it? The decomposers, detritivores of pond ecosystem. They happen to be confined in the bottom. In the bottom. You understand? So this light is over there. Up to the region where light is there, this photic zone is having all the phytoplankton as well as rooted hydrophytes. But beyond that, you are not going to have plants. So there are nectons, they roam even in photic zone as well as aphotic zone. So nectons can remain in both the zone, while the benthos are acclimatized, are adapted to the bottom of the ocean or bottom of the pond ecosystem. They are called as benthos. Well, these organisms require oxygen for their sustenance of life. Not only the light is going to give the sustenance to these, what you can say, ecosystem. So the oxygen is required, and this oxygen is dissolved in water from atmosphere, as well as it is coming from the flora of this region. Let me explain this also. This is your pond ecosystem, pond, and here water is filled with, and inside you have so many animal as well as plants. So animal and plants undergoes respiration. For that they will require oxygen, and this oxygen is present in atmosphere. Oxygen is present in atmosphere. So what happened? This upper layer of water is having a slight turbulence because of air. It may be because of any ripples. It may be because of anything. So due to turbulence, there is simple diffusion of oxygen taking place from atmosphere, and this oxygen get dissolved inside the water, and that is called as dissolved oxygen. Dissolved oxygen. And this dissolved oxygen is directly taken from atmosphere, as well as there are some plants and phytoplanktons. They are performing photosynthesis, and in the process of photosynthesis, oxygen evolution is the primary phenomenon. So the plant or the vegetation inside the water is responsible for replenishing this oxygen to the pond ecosystem. Do remember all these concepts, because once we talk about eutrophication, what is the impact of eutrophication, you can easily decipher it. Okay, so this oxygen is very much required. Oxygen in water is required. That means this dissolved oxygen is required. If this dissolved oxygen happen to be 8 milligram per liter, so the water is considered as normal water. Normal water. If it is going to be 8 milligram per liter or more, it is going to be normal water. But if this dissolved oxygen happen to be up to 4 milligram per liter, then it is said to be polluted water. That means dissolved oxygen is less. This much dissolved oxygen is not going to sustain the flora as well as fauna of this pond ecosystem. So dissolved oxygen is limiting for the growth and development of the pond ecosystem. Dissolved oxygen is dissolved from atmosphere 1 as well as from photosynthesis. Okay, and then this pond ecosystem get established. If there is any chance that is reducing the dissolution of oxygen in water, will it be limiting for that very ecosystem? Answer is yes. मान लो कि आपने ऑयल स्पिल कर दिया ओशन से, अगले पेज पे चलते हैं. This is your ocean or pond ecosystem, lake, कुछ भी कह लो. And what happened? Because of some accident, there is oil spill. This is what? Oil spill. There is a layer of oil which is formed on the upper surface of the water. And this water ecosystem is containing flora as well as fauna. As animal, that phytoplankton, zooplankton, nectons, benthos, all are going to be there. The phytoplanktons are continuously replenishing oxygen, indeed, but the major oxygen is going to be dissolved from atmosphere. So the major oxygen has to be dissolved from atmosphere. Don't you think that this oil layer is an extra interface created, and it will certainly impede the normal diffusion of oxygen? Answer is yes. And if this extra layer of oil impede the oxygen availability, dissolved oxygen is going to be less. Dissolved oxygen is going to be less. And once dissolved oxygen is reducing gradually, it will create the threat to the pond ecosystem. Threat to the pond ecosystem. And this dissolved oxygen, if reducing, so what will happen to the phytoplanktons? They are also not going to survive. And what will be the outcome? Death of biodiversity. So whatever the biodiversity over here, it is going to destroyed. And destruction of biodiversity will lead to decomposition, and decomposition further require oxygen, and oxygen availability is restricted. So oil spill can destroy the ecosystem or not? Answer is yes, because availability of oxygen was checked, stopped. Are you getting? We will discuss it in detail once we talk about the water pollution. Say another example I'm just taking for you. Suppose that there is water ecosystem, and this water ecosystem has a luxuriant growth of say for example some algal bloom. I'm just showing the algal bloom. You might have seen such pond which is having green water surface. काई जम जाता है, आपने देखा होगा आपके आसपास. मैं यहाँ कोई ऐसी चीज नहीं बताऊंगा जो आपने नहीं देखा है. बस देखने का नजरिया आपका बदलना है ताकि एनवायरनमेंट एंड इकोलॉजी को सीख सकें आप. And once you understand, because it is very empirical subject based on your experience. If you have the experience, so no need to take the book, what has been written over there. It is already in your mind. But once you need to have the correlation of the basic concept, isn't it? So this kind of development you have seen, that is called as eutrophication. How it happened and why it happened, it will be discussed later on. Just tell me, there is a luxuriant growth of this algae. So this upper surface of water is going to be covered by one species only. One species becoming stronger, and all the species are going to, what you can say, starved for oxygen as well as sunlight. So this sunlight is going to be stopped or not? The insolation, less insolation will be there. Less insolation. So whosoever is inside the phytoplankton which is present inside will get less insolation. What about oxygen? The oxygen which happened to be dissolved easily, it is stopped. So availability of oxygen or dissolved oxygen get reduced. अब ऑक्सीजन कम कर दिया, लाइट भी कम कर दी, तो क्या खाक जिएंगे बेचारे? So ultimately this entire ecosystem collapse. अच्छा, आप इस एल्गी के लिए खुश मत होना कि ये तो ग्रो कर गया. No, if entire ecosystem will collapse, certainly the most luxuriant and the strong species is also going to be collapsed, because the food chain and food web are connected with each other. That means if there is loss of biodiversity, it will be the threat for the entire ecosystem. So up till now, you understand how this light and availability of oxygen and other gases are very much important for our environment and ecology. And if we have this basic understanding of the gases, the light, spectrum of light, and the gases, and the phenomena which is taking place over there, and how this oxygen is replenished, and what are the repercussions, what are the things which is going on over here, then you can have a better understanding of the topic. Well, that's it. This is something which we are talking about, the abiotic factor, and this abiotic factor reach up to the light. Next is going to be temperature. Let me explain this temperature for you. Temperature. Well, this temperature is very much decisive for establishment of ecosystem. Temperature is very much decisive in creation of biodiversity. If I say the area having extreme temperature will have least biodiversity, will you appreciate or not? The area having extreme temperature, so extreme temperature, that means you can see the desert, you can see the polar area. Tell me the kind of biodiversity over there. The flora as well as fauna is going to be very less because the extreme temperature, and hence the temperature is very much decisive of occurrence of biodiversity. Okay. In case of animal, the animal is having a kind of adaptation. The animal is of two types. You might have learned in your general science class. There are warm-blooded animal and there are cold-blooded animal. Warm-blooded animal are those animal, they can regulate their body temperature, just like us. हम लोग गर्म खून वाले हैं. We can regulate our body temperature. There will be outside, whatever the outside temperature, we are not going to change our body temperature. It happened to be 37 degrees centigrade always. But there are certain animals, they are called as cold-blooded animal. They are not having the power to regulate their body temperature according to the changing environmental condition. They are called as warm-blooded animal. Cold-blooded animal. And those animal undergoes certain strategy in order to survive themselves. Like they will undergo hibernation. When there will be extreme cold, they will undergo hibernation, or they will go aestivation to survive extreme heat, extreme cold, or they undergo migration. There are examples like hibernation, polar bear undergoing hibernation to survive the extreme cold condition in polar region, especially in winter season. Aestivation or hibernation in case of frog. You will not find any frog outside in summer season. No frog outside in summer season, and huge population in just rainy season. And you will hear tar every time from where they are coming. So they actually sleep in a process which is called as aestivation as well as hibernation. They sleep inside the ground and they reduce their metabolic activity to the lowest, and so that they can survive or they can tide out the extreme weather condition, because they cannot regulate their body temperature. So they undergo what? Such kind of adaptation, like migration. You might have heard about olive ridley turtle, small turtle of Pacific Ocean, taking the route of the longest route of this ocean, and they reach up to the Indian eastern coast of India in Bhitarkanika, Odisha, the Gahirmatha National Park over there, and they are coming over there for nesting. They olive ridley turtle. They are migrating from Pacific and they are reaching to the Gahirmatha coast of Odisha, Bhitarkanika, isn't it? Baitarani River Delta, Mahanadi Delta. So all these area is going to be site that is conserved site You will get Biosphere Reserve National Park over there, and hope you understand which national park I'm talking about. So you will get this migration. You might have seen the Siberian birds. They are migrating thousands of miles. In winter of Siberia, there are winter. They migrate thousands of miles and they reach into the India and they undergo reproduction, abundance of food and abundance of conducive condition over there. So they migrate. So it's a kind of what? Strategy to control the body temperature. It's a kind of a strategy to save themselves, or it's a kind of strategy to exist inside the ecosystem. And whosoever is having the strategy of getting adapted towards the change in environmental condition is going to be selected by the nature. And that is called as law of natural selection, propounded by Charles Darwin. And this is also going to happen in UPSC examination. If you want to survive this exam, get selected into this exam, you need to get adapted to the syllabus as well as the timetable. Once you get adapted, the chances are that your selection is going to be there because you are the fittest. And once you are the fittest, survival is going to be the outcome. And that's why this natural selection, law of natural selection, is now called as survival of fittest. So I'm ending today's class over here. And I'm also correlating Charles Darwin, adaptation, speciation, survival of fittest, and natural selection. That means in the next class, we will going to discuss about adaptation strategy and different life forms. And these life forms as well as adaptation inside the organism, including plant and animal, is because to sustain the life in the changing environmental condition. Thank you very much for today.